Hello and welcome to Audible River. I'm Alan Rice, and I am very happy to have with me Baika Heaton, founder and operator of Complete Illumination Healing Arts in Lafayette, California, where she offers healing through her training as a clinical hypnotherapist, brain spotting practitioner, and Reiki master teacher. Baika is a Soto Zen Priest ordained in 1998. She is the founder and former abbess of Mount Diablo Zen Group in Pleasant Hill, California. Baika is a recipient of the Peace and Justice Award from the Mount Diablo Peace and Justice Center. She is an end-of-life doula and has taught Zen meditation for over 30 years. Hello, Baika. It's really great to see you today.
Hi, Alan. It's good to be with you.
To get started, uh, you were ordained as a Zen priest. This has been a long time ago. Can you tell me a little bit about how you came to that, and then talk a little bit about Zen Buddhism, the origins, the practices, and the beliefs?
Okay. Well, I grew up in Pleasant Hill, California, not far from, just over the hill from Lafayette. So it's a little unusual for somebody who grew up there in the 70s to become a Zen priest, I think. Um, but really, it came out of being a very anxious person, very sensitive person, and what I call or came to know as way-seeking mind, which is something deep within ourselves that guides us to something that we're really needing. So I got really lucky, or have a very wise part of myself that was guiding me, that came forward when I needed it, which was just the world was difficult to live in for me, being so sensitive and kind of anxious person. And so somehow I got involved in practicing yoga and was living on my own in Berkeley at the time, which was just a couple blocks away from the Berkeley Zen Center. Talking to a friend, my friend said, "Hey, why don't you go see my friend Mel at the Berkeley Zen Center and get some meditation instruction?" So that's what I did. Sat down on a cushion for the first time and just felt like I had come home.
Wow.
So that's where it just was a very profound feeling that I had in that moment. I've never forgotten it. And I told myself at the time, don't ever forget this moment. And throughout my lifetime, I've kind of drifted off or tried this or that for, maybe a few months. And then I had to come scurrying back
Okay.
to my cushion. Yeah. So it's, it's not something I do. It's just my life. My life is practicing gratitude, practicing kindness, practicing love, all of those things that um, are part of being a Buddhist.
Kindness, gratitude, and love. And so these are things that you think about. Do you have practices where you develop these things in yourself? I'm just wondering how this works in the Zen traditions. How do you enculturate these things in your life?
Well, I lived at the Berkeley Zen Center, and a lot of us do live at a Zen center and train or practice in Zen Buddhism. Um, and a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't. I came to it when I was 27 years old, and I got involved very intensely right away. And that practice includes monthly retreats, meditation retreats from 5:30 in the morning till 9 at night, where you're sitting most of the day. There's some breaks and a work period, but mostly you're sitting, including for meals, you're sitting down cross-legged or in a chair in the Zendo.
Uh-huh.
And and I moved in there and lived there for 10 years. So there was monthly retreats and then daily meditation in the morning at 5:30 in the morning and then 5:30 at night, 5:40 in the morning, which included following that was the daily liturgy, whatever that was for, on any given day. So a service, and then afterwards some temple cleaning. And so it was, like living in a monastery in this is in Berkeley, or being in a seminary. And I did that for 20 years.
Wow, that's dedication.
Yeah, I lived there for 10, and then I went off to what we say is go out into the world with gift bestowing hands.
Okay.
So you learn the practice, and then you go out in the world and hopefully influence others, not by proselytizing or anything like that, but just by being yourself. And people notice, and that's something that people have let me know over the years, that just my presence was helpful to
Oh,
them.
oh, what a wonderful thing to know that you have and to be able to share. I was just to go back a bit. You said, like, before, you sat on that cushion, that perhaps you were doing yoga, and before that maybe you were, you know, understood that you had some anxiety in your life. I'm just interested in finding out, how would you describe yourself in this transition between how you started and then what being what doing the Zen practices, how this changed you over time? How would you describe that?
Well, I was I was working a lot. I worked as a waiter. We called ourselves waiters back then. So we were beyond being waitresses, and we'd
Good.
start calling ourselves servers at that time. It was waiters at a local kind of a fancy restaurant in Oakland. And, kind of running around, working really hard. I was helping to remodel the, the apartment my partner and I at the time were living in. Um, it, it was just, a lot. I was kind of burning the candle at both ends. And then I injured myself.
Oh,
I think I just overdid it. I injured my back, and I ended up laying face down on a mattress on the floor for 6 weeks while I recovered. So I couldn't walk. So I went from just being really robust and strong and doing kind of construction work and all
hmm.
this stuff and working and running around. It was the time of the gourmet ghetto.
Okay,
So,
right.
drinking and whining and dining. It was just a fabulous time to, during in those days in Berkeley. And anyway, so I just kind of burned out early on. And so as I was recovering, I realized I needed to do something to really change my life. Or I thought, I'm going to die this way.
Oh
It's like
dear.
I had this sense of, if I didn't change my life drastically, this was not going to end well. So so that's when I got into yoga, and then eventually got into Zen meditation, where you're just learning how to sit still with all of that anxiety as it arises, and knowing that it's just um, these that everything's impermanent. Basically, everything comes and goes, everything rises and falls, including anxiety and emotional states, mind states.
So if it's impermanent, I guess the idea is that just don't get worried about it, don't get hung up, don't get attached to it, or how does the understanding impermanence, how does that help you?
For me, it just helped me be with my pain.
Okay.
I, oh, this is a mental formation, or this is something in my body, this is something in my mind,
Mm.
and all I have to do is just one moment to the next, just be with this sensation and not grab onto it and be carried away by it, or create a story about it. It's this person, it's that person, it's this problem in my life, rather than this is something within me
Right.
that I need to open up to and be with. And usually that just helps it kind of dissipate. A lot of things just dissipate. And I can say more about that
Yeah.
in connection with eventually ending up at HCH Institute in Lafayette and doing energy therapy and all of that.
Okay. So yes, now you were so while you were studying Zen Buddhism, you were living monastically. I think
Yeah, pretty much.
you could say, and then somewhere along the way, you did establish this Zen group in Pleasant Hill, and
Yeah.
what was how what happened there? How did that come together?
So after I moved away from living residentially at the Berkeley Zendo, I came back out to Pleasant Hill where my mother was living,
Hmm.
and essentially, and I moved in with her for a while, and she said, "Oh, you can just stay here while you're trying to figure things out."
Okay.
So it was really great to just be with her and just, just kind of once again realize like I had to do something to regulate my life a little better.
Hmm.
So I thought, well, maybe I could start a little group out here, a little sitting group, I thought.
Okay.
And so I thought, well, where could that be? Well, when I went to church when I was a kid, my family weren't big church people, but my father was in a choir, mostly to train his voice. He was an actor, singer, so he wanted to keep his voice tuned up. So he was in the choir there. And Hillcrest Church in Pleasant Hill is a wonderful place. It's just in my heart always. And I just remembered, well, maybe I could go there and use one of those rooms. And they were happy to have me, and happy to have a meditation group there. And they had a contemplative group active at the time too. I think it's still around. So there was this room full of stuff, and we just emptied it out and eventually remodeled this room. And they were glad to have us have a designated room there, so we didn't have to like put up the altar every time and put up the cushions and put it all away. So
Right.
it's still there, going strong. New teachers, old practitioners, friends of mine who took that on, and it was just like a little country zendo where people in the area could come, just 15 seats maxed.
Hmm.
And we've had just about every traditional ceremony there, big ceremonies, including the mountain seat for being an abbess and
Wow.
head student, and all of these wonderful ceremonies that we do in Zen. And in that little room that holds maybe 41 people packed in, uh, we've been able to have a bona fide Zendo. It's very, very unusual. And it's still there, room 10 in Hillcrest Church.
that's I love that story, and I love
Yeah.
that the what you started there just carries on, that it wasn't there before, and you wanted to maybe invite people to meditate with you on whatever your motivation
Yeah.
was, and then it's people love this thing. I mean, to me, one of the fascinating things about your story is how the Buddhism is compatible with the Christian church in this way. So it sounded like the church people there were happy to have you, and there was no conflict of like, oh, their beliefs are like not like ours or anything. But it seemed like that there was like a joy in having you there. That's the impression I get from your
Yes.
story. Yeah.
Yes. And that is their practice, hospitality
Okay.
at that church. I mean, it's like radical hospitality. I've never, they're so welcoming. They're so welcoming. And, they have a food room and clothing room for people. It's really an extraordinary place.
Wow. So, and what was the name again? It was the
Hillcrest Congregational Church in Pleasant Hill.
Hillcrest Congregational Church in Pleasant Hill. Who
Yeah,
knows? They might get a couple more visitors after the podcast goes out.
yeah,
Who knows?
it's a wonderful, wonderful place. Beautiful A-frame sanctuary,
Uh-huh.
and I just remember feeling so safe there as a kid going there,
Oh,
anyway, I just have wonderful memories of that place.
well, that's also a very, very interesting thing that you left and then came back with this new treasure that you were able to share in a place that was sacred to you.
Hmm.
Right, and as you said, you felt safe there. I mean, that's I love that story. But then somewhere along the way, you mentioned HCH, and so what drew you along to make changes or to seek other experiences and expand yourself? Tell me more about that.
Well, I was working in at a big hospital in the hospice department, and working for a big hospital is pretty intense. There's a lot of deadlines and dotting I's, T crossing. It's all because of compliance and issues and all of these really good things that we need. But for my brain, it was really starting to wear on me, and I'd been there 16 years.
Hmm.
Um, and and I wanted to change careers. So I thought, well, what I wonder what I can do. And I was just kind of, thinking about it. And then I saw an ad in the paper or somewhere. I don't know where I saw this ad. It just sort of fell into my brain or something.
Okay.
And it said Reiki, uh, Reiki um, clinic or something like that. And so for a date night, I asked my husband if he'd like to go, and he said, "Oh yeah, I've been there before." I'm like, "Really?"
Oh,
He's like,
really?
"Yeah, yeah." So we went for this Reiki clinic, and I was so moved by it, and so moved by how these beautiful people could lay their hands on me, and I could just drop body and mind, as we say in Buddhism, just
Right.
feel so free in one session. And so someone said, "Yeah, you can take classes here." So I thought, well, I'll do that. And then someone else told me about the hypnotherapy program, and I looked it over, and I was just so drawn in. It just seemed like just the right thing presenting itself just at the right moment. I was ready for a change. So I went through the program, and then I just said goodbye to my fantastic benefits and all that stuff and regular job and, 9 to 5, and just said, I'm just going to be led by my passion and what I feel really good about. And I just retired early from my hospital job and started working as a Reiki master teacher and clinical hypnotherapist and all the other energy therapies.
All of the other, just all of them. Give me all of them, right? I want to do them all. So,
Well, the
yeah,
shamanic program and
yeah.
the Reiki program, then you can learn EFT there and
Uh-huh.
all sorts of stuff. It's a great program.
So it sounds like you had a natural talent for that, or it was something that felt natural to you, perhaps.
Well, because what's key to, I think, these different therapies is presence.
Uh-huh.
And that I learned through Zen practice, how to be present to your own suffering, to someone else's suffering, and
Hmm.
not move, just be with it. And that is really the chief uh, characteristic of my therapy practice, being present to
Being
people.
that is a big one. I mean, because I can imagine, like, oh, if you observe something and then immediately the mind goes, okay, how can I fix this, or like, is it time for lunch or whatever, so your mind's just so. But if you've, like you say, if you've had many years of practice, it's so that it would come natural to you to just stay with that, and so in these energy practices, let's start with Reiki. Now, can you tell me, like, what was your experience of it, and how did you learn to use it? Just, whatever you can say briefly about it.
Well, I took the trainings there and then I participated in the clinic. So you can learn Reiki. I don't know, maybe some people are naturals. I think I'm a little bit of a, slow learner. It takes, a
Okay.
lot of repetition. And I went to most of the clinics and just round after round. So the clinics are open to the public and it's free to them. So they can come and get a Reiki, 15-minute Reiki session, get a sense of what Reiki is, and then go on to take classes or just enjoy coming to the clinics. Maybe they have some kind of ailment, or maybe it just feels good, or maybe it's just a fun thing to do. So I did those and I got so much experience working on all kinds of different people and all kinds of different responses to a Reiki session from the public, the people who came in. And I think that really helped me just be ready for anything.
Wow.
Reiki session. Yeah.
Wow. So you had, yeah, a lot of different kind of experiences while you were learning it. And so Reiki, is that, so are you moving energy with intention? Or how does that work? What kind of energy, or is it energy, or what would you call it? I mean, what is Reiki?
Well, uh, yeah, what is Reiki? That's a really good question. I don't know. Maybe I won't answer that question.
Okay. All right. Okay. You don't have
Um,
to.
Universal life force energy.
Well, see, there you go.
Universal,
That's a great answer.
yeah, universal life force energy. But for me, and there's different styles. So people, it's through a particular person who holds a particular set of conditioning.
Hmm.
And so for me, because of my conditioning and through Zen practice, um, there's a lot of talk about you become a channel, or this is coming through you, and to the person. For me, it was really strictly just being present, and being present with my hands and what that's feeling like against their body, not really analyzing, not taking any further, like what do I feel there, or I
Oh,
might notice that I felt something, but not to diagnose or treat, just being present with my hands, my warm hands,
okay.
against their skin or someplace on their body.
Now, I have a question. Would you say that the Reiki itself has a way of? I'm just wondering, how do you know what to do or what to do with it? I mean, does it sort of like do its own thing with you? And, like, because you talk about being present with it. So does Reiki like know what to do on its own? Is that that's my
Yes,
question? Okay, good.
Reiki goes where it needs to go.
Okay.
Uh, I don't know. I don't tend to worry about where it's coming from, or even think about or consider where is it coming from, where is it going, is it coming up and through my head and out my hands. I don't know.
Okay. Well, that's
but
great.
but some people study that, and I respect that, and I think that's a good way too. Everybody's different.
Right. But you don't need that in order to be a Reiki practitioner, apparently.
No, no, just need these.
Hands. I'm
Just
looking
need
at
the
your hands.
hands.
Yes. Okay. If you've got hands, then you're all set. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. And so now the other one of the things that I've noticed that you're trained in is brain spotting. That sounds like an interesting thing, and it sounds a little different than than Reiki. What is brain spotting?
Brain spotting is a brain-based, what I call trauma therapy.
Okay.
Uh, so through the position of the eyes, you make contact with, uh, let's see, trapped emotional states in the body, which means in the brain. It's because the brain is not over here, right? The brain and the body, it's all one thing.
Hmm.
And you have to kind of experience it to understand it. So with a pointer, for example, we use like a teacher's pointer. Sometimes it has a little dealy bob on top just so you can see it really well.
Okay.
And we help the client find a place by having them gaze at the end of the pointer or someplace on the pointer. And we just watch for some activation. Or we allow them to say, like, whoa, what was that? Sometimes it's a really strong feeling.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes people can start crying the minute they see the pointer.
Okay.
Some people don't experience something. Um, but I have found it to be very calming, very soothing, and people get better. And they might have some memories come up that they haven't thought about for a long time, either, recovered memories or just memories that maybe they were uh, in a process called dissociation, and so they don't have a memory of this really interesting thing that happened to them necessarily, like they weren't in their body when it was happening, and they're able to cover not only difficult memories but good memories as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me see if I can kind of speak this back in a way that I understand what you just said. And I think I'm getting that. So by the person that you're working with, by them watching the little thingabob,
Mhm.
that is more or less a spatial representation, sort of what's in their brain. So the eyes are sort of creating a mirror, and that when they focus in a certain area, that can trigger something in the brain, and
Yeah.
that can be where something is stored that when it's released can be, you can cry or laugh or whatever. It can be some sort of
Right.
release
Right.
experience. Right. Okay.
Processes through
It
the
processes
stuff.
through. That's a
Those.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
I was just wondering, like, that's such a fascinating thing that, I mean, how do you even discover something like that? I mean, just,
Well, you've have you heard of EMDR?
yes,
Eye
yes,
movement desensitization reprocessing. I
yes,
imagine that's why we call it EMDR. So,
maybe.
David Grand was working with a skater. This is in his book called Brainspotting.
Okay.
Um, he was working with a professional skater, and she couldn't do a certain kind of jump.
Hmm.
And he developed something called EMDR flow. So EMDR is often, back and forth on a light board, or I'm not sure. Sometimes they do it with like a neurotech with paddles
Hmm.
these days. So, um, anyway, he worked with this woman for quite some time, and she was not still not able to do this jump. And if you're a professional skater and you want to be in a long program or short program, you have to be able to do this.
Right.
So he developed something called EMDR flow, which was a slower way of doing it, going very slowly, and he felt his outcomes were better when he did this. So he was going across very slowly, and somewhere right about here, let's say, he noticed her eye did a wobble, and he kept going. Well, that was interesting. And he came back, and just intuitively he stopped there and said, I'm just going to leave my pointer here and let's see what happens. And within seconds she had this tremendous outpouring of uh, somatic stuff. And the next day, true story, she could do her jump.
Wow. So she's following this pointer with her eyes,
Hmm.
and at a certain point in the position of her eyes, did you say he was a coach? Right? That he noticed,
Her
her
therapist, her
therapist,
therapist,
her
yeah,
therapist noticed some activity in her eyes, some kind of
yeah,
vibration there, and so he's,
yeah,
oh, there's something there, and so by that has led to the notion that there's some simulation between the eye position and where things are stored in the brain. Okay. And
brain and the body,
and the
brain
body
and
and the body.
so
Okay.
yes. So we try to separate the two, but it's what's in the brain's in the body, what's in the
Okay.
body's in the brain.
Well, right. I know. Yeah, these days the science is all
Anyway,
focused on the brain, right? Yeah, but I just well, if you ask the ancient Egyptians, they didn't think too much of the brain. So there you go. I mean, that's just a curiosity.
yeah.
But yeah, that's so you find that you use this technique in helping people, and so you find that, like you say, people have profound experiences when you practice this with them. So
Yeah.
I guess so when people come to you, I guess they say I got what is it? I can't sleep, or I get upset when certain things happen, and then you just say okay, and then you just try this. How does that usually work with a client?
Well, I do a lot of sessions on Zoom,
Hmm.
so that's can be really helpful too, just for somebody to be in their own environment where they feel safe and usually,
Hmm.
and yeah, they just come in and we talk just a little bit about what's going on with them, not too much. And actually, I don't talk that much during the session after I've kind of taught them, help them kind of latch on to what this is because it's a little weird,
Yeah.
having this pointer and people looking at like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
So,
Right. Right.
but most of them get it, and it's hard to well, we don't think too much about how much accumulation we have in our nervous system of things that we've gone through, and we don't realize that it kind of accumulates. So in releasing all of this accumulated material, it just supports us to have a stronger nervous system ultimately. So I find that even though the experience is profound, the profound experience is getting better, but the
Oh.
changes are kind of subtle.
Okay.
It's like the monk walking along the path in the mist, and then he gets to where he's going and he realizes he's soaking wet, but he didn't notice because it was just a very fine mist.
Right. Okay.
So it's like that.
Okay. And I imagine we're talking about clearing. Yeah. You're so individuals, all of us. I mean, it's something that you mentioned many times in our conversation already about being present. So that's something I think that all of us could use work on always, right? Because what we're talking about here is how we, like say, we get like we almost had an accident on the freeway, right? And but then we're going to church. And then we get to
Right,
church and we can't focus on what, and we don't know. Maybe we're agitated and we can't remember. We don't remember exactly why we're agitated, but something happened that we're holding on to. So that kind of thing is what you're talking about clearing, but it could be all kinds of experiences, right? I mean, things that
right,
happen at any time in a person's life, but these things get in the way of us being present and actually experiencing and using our ability to, you know, just be ourselves in the moment. That's so. Am I getting that right? Is that sort of to the
yeah,
point? Yeah. And
yeah, I think you did a really good job.
thank you, thank you. That's really good.
You're welcome.
One of the other things is, now you mentioned that you worked in hospice for years, and that have call yourself, I understand, an end of life doula, and
Mhm.
so and I want to talk to you about that, and I'll just say for myself that I've had people close to me who were near death, dying, and frankly, I don't know how to act around people who were dying. I don't know what to say or how to be. My feelings are confused, and so and I know I'm not the only one who has these kind of experiences around somebody I really care about, but I just don't know. Maybe we're just making jokes or whatever, but I feel like there's probably something more that I could be saying or doing, because this is, I mean, the end of life is that's a big deal. So okay. So I'm here. I don't know what to say to my friend who's dying. How could you help me?
You could say, you know what, I'm at a loss for words, but I just want you to know I love you and I'm right here, and I'm right here to the bitter end, however this goes. So just be yourself. So what I loved about working in hospice and being with people who are dying is everybody suddenly gets very real. and they're not keeping up with appearances, or all those barriers come down. That was mostly my experience, not always, but mostly my experience. And I just love that arena of people being real and just being themselves. Like, I don't know what I'm doing here, can you help me?
Mm-hmm.
um and just like you said, what do you say? Well, you just say what's on your mind, like, oh, this, I don't know what to say to you, but I just want you to know I'm here. What would help you? Can I help you, make you more comfortable? Or And then just knowing how to be present with somebody in the last stages, this various stages, not like Kubler-Ross stages, but just the stages they go through when they're dying, and how to be with that. It's pretty interesting process, and it's often very similar to, when we die. It's very similar process with a lot of people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, any more like yeah, so now I'm just thinking about my own experiences. But to gather back what you just said, what I got from that is just being honest and being present, and like letting go of, and this for me is my interpretation, from what you just said, letting go
Okay.
of what I think I'm supposed to do.
Right. There's no supposed to.
And
It's just,
I think that's where I get tripped up. It's like, oh, I don't
yeah.
know how to say last rites, or I don't know, well, what am I supposed to do with you to, am I supposed to like reassure you that everything's going to be okay, or like, oh, I don't know if that's true or not, but
Yeah.
so yeah, so yeah, and there's some anxiety about it, and I think that when you have that kind of anxiety, when I do, I think that I definitely feel like I've missed an opportunity to make a real connection, to make a connection with somebody going through a very profound experience, somebody who I've known or is a relative or a friend. But your advice is just be honest, just be yourself.
Yeah. Be yourself, and knowledge, having knowledge of the process
Hmm.
can really help one who is sitting with someone who's dying, to know that past a certain point, there's a certain appearance or look that somebody dying will have. It's not an exact science, of course, but at that point they're not feeling any pain, and
Okay.
that they're on another plane
Okay.
and really enjoying the ride, and you can just be with that, and hope the best for them, or wish the best journey for them.
Yeah. I mean, I can say I was, yeah, I live apart from my family, like 3,000 miles. And so I got a call
Mhm.
that my dad was in the hospital,
Mhm.
and that it looked like that he wasn't going to make it. And so I flew out to be with him. And so I happened to be with him when the nurse came in and was talking to him, and he decided to just end his treatments. He decided that, I'm done with this. It's no use, trying to keep me alive. And he was very clear about it.
Mhm.
And so that was one day. And so I was with him. I didn't really say anything. I'm thinking like, oh my God, you're making that decision right now. You're saying that you're just going to let go. I mean, I didn't say those words. I'm just there. I don't know. I mean, I'm just not knowing what to say. But I was there, but he did it while I was with him. And then the next day I came back to sit with him for a while, and he told me that there was an angel standing at the end of his bed. I knew that he had very strong Christian beliefs, and so that he said that this angel was really, really beautiful, and it was such a wonderful thing. And I don't know. Then it was like it's so many mixed emotions that I had about that, because here he is, he's going through this. I know it was painful for him, what he was going through, but like you say, and apparently at that point he seemed to be joyful about
Mhm.
what he was seeing, I guess seeing ahead, and he saw this angel at his bed. But still, I just have to say that, I just, like you say, I just try to be present, but it is, to me, it's also a shocking experience to be with someone else's dying, to face my own prospect of dying.
Mhm.
And how will I be with that? The fear of death is always kind of lurking there, and I guess at some point you lose that fear because if it's inevitable. So anyway, I'm just sharing all that blathering on.
Thank you. Yeah, no, no, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And, this is a natural process. So
Uh,
in this country, we didn't talk about it, or, it's what we say is a death denying
oh, okay,
culture.
yeah,
So, this happens to everyone.
right.
Every single person who is born dies. And so if we can remember that is that it's a natural process and happens to everyone, I think that can help. Uh, but yeah, and I can't hospice is, if you have a hospice team, if you have something where, you're given a diagnosis of 6 months to terminal and you have a hospice team in your home, it's just the best thing because they have, state of the art medication, all the ways that they can adjust things so you don't feel groggy. You can, your pain is relieved, but you don't feel groggy, all sorts of stuff that they can do for you. That's just so helpful and helpful to the family, you know sometimes people wait too long to have hospice come in so
Uh-huh.
often. So, if you can get them as soon as you can. Anyway, that's a whole other topic. But
But you would suggest that if you're a family member, if you know someone, if you're close to someone who is dying, the sooner to get them hospice care is these people have the equipment. They know how to make people comfortable.
yeah,
They know how to make. I guess they also understand how people may be feeling around the dying person, and to be able to help everyone feel relieved about what's going on.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They're really good at all that. And people don't understand that you can go on hospice and then at any time you can say, I don't want to do this
Hmm.
anymore.
Okay.
Or you might get kicked off because you don't qualify anymore because you're getting better,
Because you're getting,
actually.
yeah, you're right.
Everything's in place and everybody's taking care of you. And then people sometimes get better. And then they go back on, in a couple months or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing all that, because it was, I mean, okay, so talking about dying is usually like a downer thing, right? But what if it was what if we could look at it differently? Like this is a joyful thing. Like this is a transition that we all go through, like you're saying, like we all die. And so like if what if, if you're like my dad, who was happy about seeing the angel, I mean, what if we all felt like that this was, a transition we could look forward to? I think that most of us, the idea, like you were saying, we're in a death denying culture, that we have obligations to be here, to participate, to be part of whatever we're engaged in, and that to leave it is a sad thing for everybody. So it just seems like that it would be great if we had a different way of just viewing this transition for all of us. And it's like, I know that sometimes people have what they call celebrations of life, where they celebrate a
Uh-huh.
person's life, but still there's always this, there's a mystery about it. And I don't think that any of us, and we have beliefs, and we have, some people have like, experiences or whatever. I mean, I've had people I know that had died that, have spoken to me, that kind of thing. But we don't really know exactly I mean, we can't be sure what's going on the other side. We don't have a clear window into that. And
Mhm.
I think that that's part of the uneasiness that we have about it. But like you say, we all go through it. And it would be nice if we have more people like yourself who were just getting this idea out there that, hey,
Yeah.
you know,
Getting up
it-
on our soapboxes.
yeah, yes,
Yeah, it, it's it is a kind of a mystery because no one's come back except for the near death folks, of course.
hmm,
um but we're not around it enough. So just in being around it for all those years and being with people who've died for all those years, it's you can see that there's a kind of rhythm to it, there's a kind of naturalness to it. There's something very profound and sacred about it. I've seen so many things. I've seen people reaching up,
Uh-huh.
as if somebody is there to grab their hand. And I've seen had so many experiences like that and heard so many stories that I know that there's something beyond. So there's our birth and our death, but it's part of, it just keeps going.
Yeah.
It's not like we're born on this date and we die and that's it. I don't know what it is, but just from what I've seen and heard and been around for so long, I'm not too worried about it.
Not too worried about it. That's great. I don't want to be worried about it either. Um, so one of the things that I'm impressed with in talking with you is how much your, I don't know what to call it, your inner guidance, your feeling about what was important to you has brought you through life to the place that you are now. And I mean, it seems like that my impression is that it seems like that you're fulfilling, something about yourself that's genuine.
Mhm.
But you've gotten there. So if you had to sum it up, how did you get where you are right now in just a few words? That I know that's a tough question.
It's hard to say. I would just say I'm really lucky because I woke up, but I don't know why I woke up. So I just kind of have always had a sense there was something greater going on here. So why that happened, I don't know. I don't even know. It's emotional intelligence or, I don't know. I'm an old soul. I don't know.
Right.
Uh, but but it's this way seeking mind, this seeking that which is greater than what is, appearing here as real. There's something else.
Something else. Way seeking mind. That's
Way seeking mind. Yeah.
yeah. What does that mean?
The mind that seeks the way.
Okay.
So the mind that seeks uh, the greatest role a human being can play in the world, or maybe you could say a spirit could play in the world, compassion, kindness, um, just living a good life.
So this way seeking mind is something that all of us can have or experience.
Everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah. Us Buddhists call it Buddha nature.
Wow.
Yeah.
Buddha nature. I love that. Well, Baika, this has been, I love our conversation today. This has been really great talking to you. It's just
I
a
really
pleasure.
enjoyed talking to you too, Alan. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm kind of an introvert, so it's a bit much, but I did it.
Yes, look at you. Okay, I'm going to send you a gold star that you can put on the wall.
Thank you.
You just wait. I'm going to do that. Okay. This has been a wonderful, wonderful time that we've had today with Baika. And that is all for this episode of Audible River. To all of our listeners, I would love to hear your comments. So please email me at audibleriverpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.